Stories are powerful, especially within the context of which they're told and represented. Currently, through my work as an artist, I counteract mainstream narratives that criminalize immigrants and devalues the contributions of communities of color within the fabric of our society. The common themes of immigration and socioeconomic inequalities and erased histories are present in my work as a way to record, reclaim, and elevate these stories that connect us to our humanity. I am a child of immigrants, a mother, a woman of color, a product of two people that experienced extreme poverty that led them to immigrate to this country. And it is within this context that I see my art as cultural currency that I use to invest back into the communities that I feel connected with, and to reflect what our contributions are to our world. In response to the rise of deportations in 2013, I created my Familias Separadas project. Familias Separadas, which stands for Separated Families, is a project that is focused on sharing the stories of families that have been directly impacted by detention and deportations in our state and in our city. The main goal of the project is to shift the statistics and numbers of deportations and to have us focus on the mother, the father, and child that has been torn apart from their families. This is the Immigration Customs Enforcement Building on 16th and Callow Hill in Philadelphia. It has jurisdiction over Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And in a recent report from ProPublica, it is the most aggressive ICE facility in our nation due to the high number of non-criminal arrests. This is the first point of detention. On October 12, 2015, I led 30 volunteers, including community members from Juntos, a local immigrant rights organization in Philadelphia. And together we placed my 90-foot-long stencil in front of this ICE building. The words represented in the artwork are from Anna, a mother who was formerly detained at the Berks County Residential Center, a county-run family prison in Pennsylvania. Together, as ICE agents look down on us, we fearlessly place the words of Anna. We are human beings risking our lives for our families and our future in front of this ICE building. And months leading to this installation, about 2 hours away from our city, 14 mothers were organizing a hunger strike at the Berks family prison. The mothers at Berks were detained with their children for over 600 days. And the Berks family prison continues to immigrant families, and children as young as 2 weeks old have been detained in this facility. Families that arrive to Berks are asylum seekers. They're fleeing the violence that is plaguing their communities in Central America. And the mothers that came to Berks, that came to the United States, were seeking safety and refuge. And instead of being met with dignity and respect, they were detained. Supporters of immigrant detention view Berks as an example, as a model to replicate and expand. Even though it has a running list of human rights abuses that include institutional rape, verbal abuse, workers' rights violations, and medical neglect. And due to the both legal and public pressures to end family separations at the border, The federal government is now detaining children and their parents indefinitely, expanding facilities like Berks. The current operation and continued operation of Berks violates both federal and state law. And my community partner, the Shut Down Berks Coalition, continues to fight so that our state will shut down this prison. In 2017, I started the second phase of my Familias Separadas project. For 5 months, I visited the mothers at Berks. And I understood that it was a privilege for me to be able to enter and exit the center. A privilege that is a human right that has been denied to these families. Besides writing for their campaign letters and their pleas for their court cases, the mothers were able to share their stories through writings and conversations with me. Through the creative process, I was able to offer moments of healing and moments for the mothers to see themselves not as victims of the system, but as warriors fighting for their freedom. During our supervised visits, I would ask them to respond to these core questions. What gives you strength in moments of darkness? When was a moment that you felt the most free? What is your wish for yourself and for your child? By August 2017, 10 mothers were deported back to their home countries, returning to the violence that they were originally fleeing from. 4 mothers were released from the center into the United States as they continued to live through the trauma of being detained and still fighting against their possible deportation. I was able to connect with 3 mothers in their respective cities in the United States and one of the mothers in El Salvador. And it was during our conversations I was able to interview them, and they were able to share for the first time their stories before, during, and after detention. These testimonials became the foundation of my 8 large-scale public art installations that I unveiled in Harrisburg. The installations include billboards and bus shelters, a 35-foot-tall permanent mural, and an 88-foot-long installation on our Capitol steps. On these Capitol steps, you see the image of Karen and her 6-year-old son, Stephen. Stephen had 2 suicide attempts while at Berks. And after being detained for 651 days, they were one of the 10 families that were deported back to El Salvador. The installations reveal the images of the mothers as you enter into the city of Harrisburg. You begin to see their phrases and their messages and their images throughout the city that leads you to the Capitol steps and moves you towards Allison Hill. In Allison Hill, where the immigrant community resides in Harrisburg, is where you see the story of Delmy featured. And through a large statewide action to end family detention that I co-organized with the Shut Down Berks Coalition, we were able to unveil this mural as a way to bring Delmy's story to a community that is still thriving through the violent poverty and constant attacks of both local and state police collaborating with ICE raids. Delmy lost her life to a violent and tragic event. And before her unexpected death, her and her child were able to stand with us the day of the action. She was able to see all of the supporters that were with her as she was fighting for her own freedom and the freedom of her child. Her words, mi hijo es el único que me da fuerza. My son is the only one that gives me strength, continues to serve as an inspiration for those families that reside in Allison Hill. The mother stories, the artwork, the organizing efforts live in my short documentary entitled Las Madres de Berks. The documentary serves as a way for the mothers to be able to tell their own story in their own voice, for us to be able to hear them and see them as loving, powerful, and resilient human beings, for us to be able to see and hear their voices to help advocate and educate and move us into the direction of taking action. The immigration issue is focused on the border, but it spreads throughout our entire nation. And through my art, and through my art, I am creating platforms to amplify and energize the existing power and voices of the community, and doing this in a way that is both poetic and powerful. My message to immigrant mothers like my own, who will move mountains for their children, and especially to the mothers at Berks. When others try to strip you of your humanity, you still show your child love. You stand tall as you cross rivers and borders. You are monumental. You surpass the confines of a prison of golden cages and man-made laws. You forge ahead carrying your hopes and your futures on your backs, and you shine through the darkness. And for that, and so much more, I honor you.